With WordPress up and running on our Microsoft Azure account, we can now go back to the Azure portal and take a look at the different management tools we have available right here. As you can see, now that I've added a new service, when I go to All Items, I now have both Default Directory and my new service, in this case, YWP. And you also see that the Websites tab now says 1 because I have one website running. So as you set up more WordPress websites or other services, you will see all of these listed under All Items and under the specific service item that you are currently using. Right from within this page, you can do several things to the service you are currently running. If you select a service, like I've selected YWP right now, you can either stop the service, so that would mean stopping the virtual server. You can also restart the service, so that would be restarting the virtual server. So if something goes horribly wrong on the server, you just hit restart, it restarts. If you upgrade from your free account to either a basic or a standard account, you can also manage domains here, so you can point domains directly in from Azure. You can also delete the service, so this would mean the entire thing goes away, both your database and all of WordPress and everything just disappears. And you can link your service up to Webmatrix if you have Webmatrix set up on your computer. And it gets even more interesting when you go into the service itself. So if you go and click on your site now, you'll go directly to the management page just for this site. Again, you see these same services on the bottom here, but what we're going to look at is all the other stuff you can do. First, you can monitor everything that's happening on your site by clicking on Monitor. Here you get a graph of everything that's going on your site, so that would be CPU time and data in and out, and any server errors that are happening, and also all the requests that are coming into your site. You can also get a short breakdown of this if you go to the Dashboard tab. So here you see the same graph. And when you scroll down, you also get an overview of all the usage that's happened on your site. So here you can see in relation to your whole service how much each of your individual services are using. This dashboard is also where you get all the information and where you can configure things like access to deployment and your current URL and so on. So this is a place that you'll go to a lot, and we'll visit this page again later on in the course. But what's really interesting here is when you go to the Configure option. Because, as you may recall, I said that when you set up a site in Windows Azure, what you're actually doing is setting up a virtual server. So it's like you built a new computer, only the computer doesn't exist. There's just the idea of a computer. And now that the computer has been set up, you can configure this computer in any way you want. So by default, this configuration is set up to run WordPress properly. So we have the PHP version 5.4, we don't have Java or Python installed, and we have some different other options. But if you want to, you can change these settings. Let's say you want to use PHP 5.5, you simply select PHP 5.5. You want to use Java, you just select Java. You want to change the processor capabilities of your virtual server? Well, if you have basic or standard mode, you can switch between a 32-bit processor or a 64-bit processor. You can toggle WebSockets on and off, and you can toggle on and off several other features too. And as you add in things like new domain names or SSL certificates or bindings, all of these things will appear here under the configuration settings because you are in fact working with a real server. It's just it's not a physical server, it's a virtual one. But for most users, you don't need to touch anything under the configuration page. You should just know it's there if you want to add any additional features like SSL certificates, or if you want to change something like the PHP version. The other interesting tab is the Scale tab. And this is where Microsoft Azure really shines. You'll remember when I explained what Microsoft Azure was, I said this system has the capability of spinning up extra instances of itself when necessary. And under the Scale tab, this is where that would happen. Here you can choose what type of hosting plan you have. So as you can see, we currently have the free one, but you can change it to shared or basic or standard. And as you do this, you can change the instance count. So if you pull up this count either by pulling the bar or by setting a new number, you spin up additional computers within the system. And then you can set it to automatically scale so that it'll spin up as many instances as required and then spin them down when they're no longer needed. And this creates a fully dynamic hosting environment where you are using only the resources you need when you need them. The final tab you should look at is linked resources. And here you get the list of all of your databases. And as you can see, we currently have one. And if you follow this link, you are taken to ClearDB, where you see the performance metric and other information about the database you are using. Because as I said previously, the database that WordPress will be running on inside Microsoft Azure is actually hosted by another company called ClearDB. And this is where you get access to the database and where you can configure it and where you get all the information about what goes on that database. So now that you know the management tools from within the Microsoft Azure panel, let's use them to access the files on our site.